Good afternoon, St. Paul UMC. It's going to be, we have our next installment of spiritual disciplines to practice at home. Last week we did community, and there was just one spiritual discipline was to think about a value that you would want a community to be centered around, values that are important to you for sharing community with others. If you didn't get to respond to that email and you still want to, I'd love to receive any responses you want to send. This week, though, we're talking about remembrance, the importance of remembering both the good and the bad, that when we remember the bad, we hand over the power of that to God to transform it, much like Paul, who remembered his own persecution and his bad actions. But we also talked about remembrance as a good thing, remembering how God has been with us, moments where God was present, when God spoke or when God acted, as to give us hope and courage as we move into the future. So today, we're going to do the Examen. We did that earlier in this series when we examined the future. We thought future thinking. You can do the Examen backward. We're going to do that now. And then tomorrow we're going to talk about journaling, which is a practice I am not good at, and I will confess that very openly. I'm not good at journaling. So just like always, find a quiet space, a space where you can be present, can focus, a space where you can write. I'm at my desk, and we're going to practice the Examen backward. And so for the Examen, the first thing to do is get a sheet of paper and a pen. And what I always start with is I just write out my days from the most recent to the furthest away. And we're going to do 4 days. So I wrote Tuesday, Monday, Sunday, Saturday. I know my handwriting is not very good. And so by doing that, what we will do then is write down major events in those days, or things that come to mind that happened on those days. It doesn't have to be a major event in the sight of the world, but things that stuck with you. So take a minute, sit down, and go back through those days, and write down the ones that the major events that stick out to you. So after you've done that, you might only have one event per day, a couple events per day. And remember, we start small with just 3 or 4 days, and then as we get more practiced in this discipline, we can do a week or a month at a time. And so I have my list here of a few different things. I realized that on Saturday I didn't have anything planned, so that was a free day. But that doesn't mean, just because there wasn't anything going on, that I can't examine. And so in the Examen, it's about getting to analyze those experiences in light of our relationship with God. But before we do that, it's also important for us just to think about how those moments made us feel. So now that you have a list of your your major events in those days, sit down and go through each one and think, how did I feel during this? Was I happy? Was I sad? Was I encouraged? Was I stressed? Just go through each one. And slowly write them down, what you experienced in those moments. What was your emotional reaction? So go ahead and do that. As you're writing this, it might be helpful if you have emotions that need some explaining for you to jot down why that was the way you were feeling, if you know. If not, that's okay. It's okay to have emotions you can't explain, but if you can't explain them and you feel like that's necessary, feel free to write those down. So I just finished my list of what I was experiencing. And maybe just take a moment now and look through those events and just lift those up. And so a good thing, I put down Theology on Tap, which I thought was a good conversation last night. And so I might sit and just say, God, thank you. Just thank God or ask God why, or just take a moment with the events that really stick out, maybe ones that aren't fully explained, and offer them up in prayer for a moment. And this is important, where you want to, again, be in that space where you're apart, where you can pray. And so the final part of the examen that we can do, and this is kind of the part that really engages our faith. I know the rest of this could be considered just kind of like analysis and self-help, is going through those different moments, recognizing that your emotions are valid in those moments. Those 4 questions. Go through each event and ask, how did I see God in this event? Where did I miss God in this event? How did I love God and neighbor in this event? That's another way to phrase that question. And how did I fail to love God and my neighbor during this moment? So go ahead and spend time with each event, asking those 4 questions. I'll put them up on the screen for you. And then make sure you're pausing with each event and saying, God, what was your will here? And sit in the silence for a moment and see if anything gets pulled up. So let's go ahead and spend a moment doing that. So after probably a few minutes, maybe you've gotten through all of them, maybe you haven't. That's okay. Feel free to spend more time with that. I think this is a great practice to have once a week or once a month, where you just sit and write down key fixtures of your week or your month and see where you served God, where you failed to serve God, and where you saw God. Obviously, each week and month are different, and the goal isn't to chastise ourselves, but it's just to make us more and more present, that each moment has within it the potential for us to share our love of God, that God is present in each moment, and helping tune our eyes and our ears to the presence of God, maybe in that conversation with a loved family member, in the mundanity of work or the excitement of work, or even on a day off when you're just sitting around the house. So I hope this was helpful to you. And I hope that this is a practice that you can implement in your life periodically to help see and witness to and serve God. So thank you all. And I'll have a new video tomorrow, and I'll see you all soon. God bless.